military theory at Marine Corps University, Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Let's look at this attack. Let's look at it from a law enforcement standpoint. Here they had all the information about this guy. He said he was part of al-Qaeda. He said he was part of Hezbollah, cheered on 9/11. All of these indicators on a watch list, taken off a watch list. Big mistake?
Well, clearly it is a big mistake because this man has killed 49 Americans. Yes, we don't know exactly how the decision was made. I work with members of the FBI. They're good people. They're patriots. Most of the big problems we've seen in the last 7 years come out of the DOJ. It's the DOJ that puts the political correctness matrix on top of the FBI.
Okay, if the FBI, the DOJ, Homeland Security, if they knew about the Orlando terrorist, they ultimately did nothing. They didn't follow up on the guy. You know, are we supposed to believe that the Syrian refugees that the president wants to bring into the country and Hillary Clinton wants to bring into the country, that they say they can vet properly, even though our intelligence officials say ISIS will infiltrate? How dangerous is that?
Hugely dangerous. ISIS has stated in their English language publications, Sean, that they will and they are using the refugee streams. We saw in Europe, we saw people using false Syrian passports, exploiting the refugee streams to execute the attacks that were just like the attack in Orlando. So we don't have to hypothesize. It's happened already, and they say they want to do more.
One of the things I like about your book is you say we can defeat jihad. Okay, we have Chattanooga, we have Boston, we have San Bernardino, now we have Orlando, we had Belgium, we had Paris. We don't seem to be winning this war, and a president that is hell-bent and passionately today saying he doesn't have to say or identify radical Islam for what it is.
But passionate in his petulance. That speech was outrageous.
That's a great line. He was petulant today.
Totally. He said that what difference does it make what we call it? Well, what if you went to a doctor's clinic with a serious illness, you had tuberculosis, and the doctor says, I'm going to call what you have the flu or a common cold. Here's a couple of aspirins, go home.
What if in World War II we didn't identify Nazism for what it is, or Imperial Japan for the enemy that they are? Or Reagan saying an evil empire.
Right, this is when you have to bring Americans together. Those people weren't gay people, they were Americans.
By the way, under Sharia, radical Islamists, if it was a group of women dancing, they would feel justified in doing this.
Listening to music.
Listening to music.
The Taliban banned music in Afghanistan.
All right, I'm trying to understand. It's pathological at this point to me, the president, Hillary Clinton, and the Democrats.
It is.
It's inexplicable. It's, you know, I don't understand this mysterious reluctance and resistance to identify an enemy. I want to play some things for you. Let's first go to the New York Times, Nicholas Kristof, and they talked about Obama when he was in a Muslim school. He said he recalled, in a first-rate accent, by the way, the opening lines of the Arabic call to prayer, reciting them with a first-rate accent, in a remark that seemed delightfully uncalculated, and it'll give Alabama voters a heart attack. But Mr. Obama described the call to Muslim prayer as one of the prettiest sounds on earth at sunset. Now, I'm going to play for you back to back his comments about Islam and his comments about Christianity. And I want you to respond. Let's roll the tape.
The United States is not and will never be at war with Islam. And I'm also proud to carry with me the goodwill of the American people and a greeting of peace from Muslim communities in my country. Assalamu alaikum. Islam is not part of the problem in combating violent extremism. It is an important part of promoting peace. Our enemies respect no religious freedom. Al-Qaeda's cause is not Islam. It's a gross distortion of Islam. The future must not belong to those who slander the Prophet of Islam. ISIL is not Islamic. No religion condones the killing of innocents, and the vast majority of ISIL's victims have been Muslim. We have reaffirmed again and again that the United States is not and never will be at war with Islam. Islam teaches peace.
Remember that during the Crusades and the Inquisition, people committed terrible deeds in the name of Christ. Slavery and Jim Crow all too often was justified in the name of Christ.
On Easter, I do reflect on the fact that as a Christian, I am supposed to love. And I have to say that sometimes when I listen
to less than loving expressions by Christians, I get concerned.
He won't say radical Islam. You heard his comments about Islam. Terrible deeds in the name of Christ.
Horrific. What nation are we? Who were the founding fathers? What creator are they referring to in our founding documents? Are they referring to Allah or some nameless blob? No, they're referring to the God of the New Testament.
Judeo-Christian values.
Absolutely. Why is the sympathy always for the other? Why is America the problem, Sean?
Now, let's add to this. An Iranian deal where you give the #1 state sponsor of terror $150 billion. Let's add to that American bloodshed for Ramadi and Mosul and Fallujah and Tikrit. Let's add to that Mohammed Morsi, former head of the Muslim Brotherhood, a terrorist organization, becomes the head of the president of Egypt. And he gives him tanks, F-16s, and $1 billion+. A guy that referred to the Israelis as descendants of apes and pigs. He is on the wrong side all of the time.
And when a man comes along who's a Muslim who says, I'm not letting the Brotherhood steal my country, I've met President Sisi, what do? We reject him.
President el-Sisi has had more courage to stand up to radicalism than the President of the United States of
He's
America.
on the front line.
But here's my question. Why? What is it?
Look, let's leave conspiracy theories to the side.
Not conspiracy. It's inexplicable to me.
It's one thing. I'll give you the explanation. This man comes from a certain ideological background, okay? His buddy was Bill Ayers. He grew up with a certain individual.
Bernardine Dorn,
right.
Reverend Wright, Acorn,
Marshall,
Alinsky,
right.
Frank Marshall Davis.
What's the common denominator? America is the problem. Whatever the issue is, we are the problem. And as a result, he's always going to sympathize with who? The bad guys. This idea now that this guy had a twisted sexual identity in Orlando, he was suffering, we're going to make the perpetrator out to be the victim eventually. It's unconscionable, Sean.
I don't think anybody else in the media will put that together what we just did.
No, and I'm glad you did it. That's powerful.
Sebastian, good to see you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
All right, we continue on this busy news night tonight, right here on Hannity.
If we fall into the trap of painting all Muslims with a broad brush and imply that we are at war with an entire religion, then we are doing the terrorist work for them.
That was a petulant president earlier today lecturing his critics on why he does not use the term radical Islam. That's next, also tonight.
I watched President Obama today, and he was more angry at me than he was at the shooter. And many people said that.
Pretty amazing. Donald Trump, choice words for President Obama. He will join us tonight. The presumed GOP nominee will be with us as we continue tonight on Hannity. But first, earlier today, an unhinged President Obama, well, he lashed out at Donald Trump and those who dare to question why he refuses to use the simple term radical Islam. Watch this.
For a while now, the main contribution of some of my friends on the other side of the aisle have made in the fight against ISIL is to criticize this administration and me for not using the phrase radical Islam. This is a political distraction, and that kind of yapping has not prevented folks across government from doing their jobs, disrupting plots, and protecting all Americans, including politicians who tweet and appear on cable news shows. We now have proposals from the presumptive Republican nominee for President of the United States to bar all Muslims from emigrating to America. And if we fall into the trap of painting all Muslims with a broad brush and imply that we are at war with an entire religion, then we are doing the terrorist work for them.
Here with reaction, author of See Something, Say Nothing, a Homeland Security officer, exposes the government's submission to jihad. Former DHS employee Philip Haney. Philip, now you started working for DHS in what, 2003, correct?
Yes, I was a founding member of DHS.
And part of your job is you were looking for terror ties. For example, you would identify people with terror links. In the early 2000s, you were profiling people with links to all of these terror groups. That was your job, right?
Yes, we were connecting the dots. We were focusing on individuals and organizations networks across both the United States and with affiliations in foreign countries.
Then 6 years into your tenure in 2009, you were ordered to scrub the records of Muslims with these terror ties by our government. Who told you to do that?
It was directed from DHS headquarters. It's important to keep in mind that that was 1 year after the November 2008 Holy Land Foundation trial, the largest terror trial in American history, that irrefutably proved that these individuals from the Muslim Brotherhood front groups were in direct financial support of Hamas.
And
so
that's the trial where CARE was named as an unindicted co-conspirator, if I'm not mistaken.
As along with Islamic Society of North America and the North American Islamic Trust, three major groups.
Okay, so you were doing your job, identifying individuals, you built up a computer database, Obama becomes president, you are literally ordered to scrub the names of Muslims with terror ties that you had worked so hard to find. You believe you could have stopped what happened in Orlando and San Bernardino had you not been ordered by Obama's DHS to do this. Is that true?
Well, that was the first, what I call the first great purge. That was in 2009 with more than 800 records. The case that I'm referring to about stopping the San Bernardino and now related to the Orlando was 3 years later in 2012. It was a larger case called the Tablighi Jamaat Initiative, and it was another network separate from, but related to in some ways, the Muslim Brotherhood network that we just talked about.
So in the case of San Bernardino, it was Saeed Farouk and his wife. You had identified that mosque as a place where you believe we should have been paying attention to, correct?
There's an entire network of those kind of mosques across the United States. And I found out a couple of days ago that the mosque in Fort Pierce is also related to the same network. Two big cases now.
Let me ask you bluntly, could San Bernardino, but you were doing this great work, and I applaud you for what you have done. You were told to scrub, literally, the records of Muslims with terror ties. You had to do your job or you'd be fired. Do you believe in your heart that the information you had gathered, if you had kept that information, you might have been able to prevent the terrorist attacks in both San Bernardino and Orlando?
Well, to clarify, I wasn't told to scrub. My agency deleted them themselves. But yes, I believe I have a plausible premise that we could have stopped it by two major ways. Either Syed Farouk would have been put on the no-fly list and not allowed to travel, or his pending fiancée would have been denied a visa because of his affiliation with an organization with plausible ties to terrorism. That's at least two different ways.
Can I repeat this one other way? You did your job, and other people did their jobs, and in comes the Obama administration, and they wipe out all the work that could have potentially saved the lives of Americans. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, it's a fair statement. My records were tagged, and I got an email from all 67 of them when they were deleted, and they came back to my inbox exactly the moment when they were entirely deleted from the system.
Oh my God, this is unconscionable. Phil Hannity, thank you for telling the truth and speaking out. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
It shocks the conscience. And next.